So yesterday on August 10th, we had a Marvel Legends fan live stream where they revealed a whole bunch of new figures, and this is my honest opinion. Hello and welcome back. My name's Jacob, aka Jacob's Toys. Please like, share, subscribe, all those things. All support is very much appreciated. Now, this video is a little bit different than the videos I normally do. I don't tend to do kind of reaction videos to the live streams, but after yesterday's live stream, I felt the need to do one. I really wanted to do one just because I had kind of mixed opinions about what we got. Now, I've been collecting Marvel Legends for a number of years. That's no secret, you know, since 2014. That's when I really kind of went hard in the line and started collecting a lot, and I've got most of what's been released since sort of 2014, and for the most part I really like what's put out. But this fan live stream kind of left me a little bit, I don't know, I was kind of on the fence a little bit for the first time. So I just want to dive in and sort of talk about what we saw. So the first thing to mention is that for the first kind of 15 minutes of that live stream, we just kind of got recaps on what we saw at San Diego Comic-Con. San Diego Comic-Con was very recent, and we got shown a whole bunch of kind of pipeline reveals, and since then we've had things go up for pre-order, things like that Venom 3-pack with Agony and Riot, a really cool 3-pack that's gone up, and it's a really reasonable price 3-pack as well compared to some of the other ones, so that's a massive win. But for the first 15 minutes or so of this live stream, we just got kind of a flashback and kind of went over the Wakanda Forever wave, which is a really cool wave. I was really disappointed though, because I was hoping we were going to see Shuri, because when they were doing the kind of first reveals at San Diego Comic-Con, there was definitely a Shuri figure on the table. So she is coming at some point. I don't know when, I don't know where, but I'm pretty sure she's coming. Now, the thing that disappointed me the most was when they first opened up the live stream, the first thing that they announced was that they weren't going to be talking about HasLab. Now, we know that the HasLab project is going to be Ghost Rider, it's going to be Ghost Rider related, but there's really no further details. There's a few little clues and lots of theories and stuff out there, but there's no real specific hard details of what we're going to get as that HasLab. We just know it's going to be Ghost Rider related, and I'm here for it. But they opened up the live stream by saying they weren't going to discuss that. Now, my thoughts are that they're either going to have another live stream before PulseCon, Hasbro PulseCon, or they're going to talk about it at Hasbro PulseCon. My initial theory was that this live stream was going to be to discuss the HasLab project and maybe launch it, and then at Hasbro PulseCon, that's when they were going to kind of close it and celebrate it being backed. Because let's be honest, the Marvel Legends HasLab projects always get backed. Not like the Star Wars ones. Let's dive in and talk about what was revealed. Now, the first thing was the Spider-Man 5-pack. Now, I'm really not sold on this. I actually think it's really disappointing. The first one is Spider-Man. The Spider-Man figure is a repaint of the Ultimate Miles Morales figure that we got a few years back. I've actually got him up there somewhere. I've actually got him up there somewhere. He's on my shelf. But he's a shorter, teenage-bodied Spider-Man. He's a really cool figure, and they've repainted him in like the black suit with like a nice deep purple on it. Now, it's a nice figure, don't get me wrong, but it is just a repaint. The next things that they announced was that the Fly and Razorback that they had announced at San Diego Comic-Con were part of this 2-pack. Now, the Razorback, I'm pretty sure that's his name. That's quite a cool figure. It's quite unique, but it's essentially just a male body with like a big boar's head and a face in the mask. Not unlike kind of the Frogman suit, it's a bit of a gimmicky costume, and I'm not overly familiar with the character in the comic books. They did state that he was like a deep dive for sort of like really hardcore fans, but it's a cool figure either way, and one that I'd love to add into my Spider-Man Rogues gallery. The other one was the Fly. Now, I'm really not sold on this one. I'm not overly familiar with the character, and it doesn't really appeal to me. If I could pick him up at a decent price, then I'd probably add him to the Rogues gallery. I would have preferred someone like Spot, maybe. Someone that's a bit more of a familiar Spider-Man villain. He's definitely my least favourite in the box. The next one that they talked about as well was Molten Man. Now, we've been looking for a comic book accurate Molten Man for years. People have been asking for him. Now, we had the movie version that was from the second Spider-Man film, Far From Home. And that was pretty cool. I quite liked that as a Build-A-Figure. It wasn't a hugely used character in the film, and the Marvel Legends kind of, they do it off of concept art and stuff. So when I saw the action figure, the Build-A-Figure, I thought that he was going to have a bigger part in the film, but he didn't, and he didn't even turn out to actually be Molten Man, but that's not here nor there. That's a whole nother video. But we finally got a comic book accurate Molten Man. Now, what's really disappointing about this one is it essentially is just a Human Torch repaint with a different head. Yes, they put it in a translucent kind of goldy yellow body, but it's a kind of a lazy attempt of a figure that we've been asking for years. I would have preferred to have seen him maybe on a bigger buck with a few more accessories, maybe some interchangeable hands with, like, I don't know, like some kind of liquidy hands or something. I don't know. I just thought it was a bit of a lazy repaint. And the final one was Silvermane. Now I think this is probably the laziest attempt, because what they've used is the Beetle body, and the Beetle body came out years ago. Like, I'm not even sure how long ago it was. I'll look it up when I'm putting this video together, and I'll put it in the description or something. But it came out a long time ago, and it wasn't even a great figure then. It was one of them figures that you kind of picked up at discount. I got mine at Toys R Us, I think, when they were doing a closeout sale in the UK, because I wasn't overly fussed about him, and I wasn't going to pay, like, what was it at the time, £15 I think they were at the time, but I wasn't willing to pay the price that was on it as a figure, because yes, I'd like to have him in my collection, and I have got him in my collection, but I wasn't going to pay the asking price for him because he wasn't that great. And they've just used that body. They've changed the arms slightly, they've given him a couple of guns, and they've updated the head. So we did get that head as part of, I think it was Speed Demon, I'm pretty sure. Essentially you got the head and the little kind of like RC car that came with the Speed Demon figure. And a lot of people, myself included, did customs, and we kind of put them on various different bodies. I think I used Infamous Iron Man, I think I did, and I put some tubes on him and stuff, and I'm really happy with my Silvermane figure. So to see this as the official release on a really old body that I didn't even use for my custom because I thought it was too dated, is a little bit disappointing. So as a 5-pack, Fly, not bothered about. Silvermane, old body reused. Molten Man, sort of lazy reuse of the Human Torch figure. Razorback's cool figure, and the Spider-Man, yeah, I mean, it's a cool Spider-Man, and I'd like to have him in my collection, but until I see the price tag on that box set, I am not overly bothered about it. These box sets usually retail between sort of 100 and 150 pounds, so obviously that's a little bit more in dollars, and I'm not going to be paying that for that box set. No. Next up was the Disney Plus Wave 2, I think it is, which is really cool. Disney Plus put out a whole bunch of MCU shows, and they've been massively popular, and people absolutely love them. And there is so many characters in all of these different shows that, you know, Agatha Harkness, people are still asking for a character, a figure for, and I'm pretty sure we're going to get one very, very soon. There is so much choice. It is, you know, I don't envy their decision on who they're going to do and at what point, in what way, and stuff like that. But they did put together another wave of figures. Now, it's 7 figures in total. I'm just going to go through them off the top of my head. So the first one was Zombie Iron Man from the What If Zombies episode. This again was a little bit, I don't want to say lazy, but there were other characters I would have preferred to have seen before him, because he is essentially just the MCU, I think it's the Mark 40 something suit. I used it for a custom. I did a zombie Iron Man and a zombie Hawkeye shortly after watching that show. You can check out the video on my channel of how I put those together. And essentially I just put a zombie head on an Iron Man body. And that's really kind of what they've done with this one. I know they've kind of broken a bit of the stuff away, and you can see some ribs and a little bit on his arm as well. But when you look at the Captain America zombie figure, where he's got holes through his legs and pieces hanging off and boots missing, I just feel that they could have done more with this figure. And surprisingly, this is the figure that in the wave doesn't come with a Build-A-Figure piece. So they're expecting us to buy that just on the merit of the figure. So I'm really curious as to how well that will go down. I think it will sell because people will want the Iron Man to go with the zombie Captain America. But either way, you know, if I picked up the whole wave, I'd be happy to have it. But if I was going and picking them up individually, I think I'd probably pass on that one, or at least wait a while. The other zombie that we got was the zombie Wanda. Now she was one of the big characters in the show that everyone was like, oh, we need a zombie Wanda, we need a zombie Wanda. So I'm really pleased that they did do the zombie Wanda, and she is pretty awesome. She's very similar to the MCU in respect of her costume, and the What If show is based on the MCU characters. So just a side segue, they have announced that, you know, the MCU What If show, they announced very early on that it wasn't going to be based on the comic book What Ifs, but it was going to be what if scenarios of the MCU characters. So the fact that they can reuse these MCU figures and make what if versions makes perfect sense. But yeah, she is really cool. She's got like a tattered coat, she's got massive big hair, like she just looks the part. I would have liked maybe some alternate hands or something. We get them kind of wrap around effect pieces that we've had with so many different figures. Personally, I only use them on a few of my figures when it comes to displays. They're not my favourite effect piece. The next one is He Who Remains that we saw in Loki. Now this was a character that was an obvious choice. With all of the Kang stuff that's coming out in the MCU, I think we are going to get lots and lots of versions of this figure and versions of this character. So to get that one out now before we see any of those in the MCU makes perfect sense from kind of a business point of view, because I think when there are different versions of Kang and different universes and all the different versions that's going to come in that Kang Dynasty storyline, I think this is the one that people won't necessarily chase after. So I think it makes sense that this one comes out now. And as a collector, if I've seen habits in collecting, what I'd say is if you're a completionist, pick this one up now, because I've got a feeling that it won't be as readily available by the time like the Kang Dynasty comes around, and people will be going, oh, I want a He Who Remains figure, oh, can I get one, he's a grey, or all that kind of stuff. So now's your opportunity, grab it. It's a good figure, doesn't come with any accessories except for the apple, which again I would have liked to have seen a few accessories. They could have given us a couple of those little things that he had out on his desk with the little figures and stuff. I don't know, just something so we could set up some kind of diorama. We also got Jimmy Woo from WandaVision. This is an odd one. I love the character Jimmy Woo. He was definitely a fan favourite in that show, but to get an action figure of him is a bit weird, especially when we saw the new Marvel Zombie TV show lineup, and you can see that Jimmy Woo's in there in kind of more battle attire, because let's be honest, they're going to reuse this head sculpt at some point. It's one that I'm not overly bothered about. Like, it's, you know, yes, I'd like to add him to my shelf, but he's not gonna sit at the front. You know, I'm a big MCU collector, so to have as many of the MCU characters is cool, but there are lots more characters from the TV shows I would have preferred before getting this one. Oh, and he comes with his little card hand, which was the tease that we got a few months back, which a lot of people called and said, oh, we're getting a Jimmy Woo. We then got a Richard E. Grant Loki, and we saw this one at San Diego Comic-Con, and I think this is one of the best figures in the wave. Richard E. Grant's Loki, or classic Loki, was fantastic in the final episodes of Loki, and to have a figure with a likeness of Richard E. Grant as close as it is brilliant. He is definitely one that I'm pleased that they put out. He's also got he's got two heads, so you can have two different looks of him. He's got an effect hands, his costume is pretty much spot on. He is just a very cool figure. And who doesn't want a Richard E. Grant action figure? And who doesn't want a Richard E. Grant action figure? I do. And now into the two that disappointed me the most. Let's talk about Howard the Duck. We are revisiting that Spider-Pig, Spider-Ham, whatever you want to call him, catastrophe of, I think it was 2018 in the Venom wave. It was the Monster Venom Build-A-Figure, and one of the figures in that wave was Spider-Ham. Essentially this small little figure that had very, very limited articulation. The legs weren't articulated, the arms did move up and down, the head did move around, but it was an accessory at best, let's be honest. It was not a £20, $25 figure at all. It came with the biggest part of the Build-A-Figure, that's fair enough. It came with like on the chest and the back piece. So a lot of the real estate in the box was taken up by the Build-A-Figure piece, but we're kind of having that again here with this Howard the Duck, because there is zero articulation kind of from the neck down, from what I can tell. We've seen some pictures out there, we've seen it on the live streams. There is definitely no articulation in the legs. This is a short figure with limited articulation, which is essentially a statue or an accessory. They've thrown in a Paul Rudd What If animated head in a jar from the Zombies episode, which is cool, but a head in a jar and a statue, I think there's going to be a lot of complaints. And he comes with a Build-A-Figure piece, so if you want to build the Build-A-Figure, you've got to pick up Howard the Duck. And then the most disappointing figure in the wave for me, hands down, was Red Skull. Not because it's not a good figure, but because of the story before. 2018 San Diego Comic-Con, you got the Tesseract with an exclusive Red Skull figure from the Captain America movies, and this was the long coat Red Skull. Now they also released around the same time a kind of an army builder Hydra figure. So it was a Red Skull figure, but he had the shorter jacket, and you had a bunch of different Hydra heads and accessories like straps and guns and stuff like that. So you bought half a dozen of them. You could make up all these different sort of Hydra figures, MCU Hydra figures, or have a Red Skull. Now for anyone that didn't get the San Diego Comic-Con Tesseract box set, I'm happy for you. You're going to have a cool Red Skull with the long jacket. But for those of us that did, it's a bit of a kick in the teeth, let's not lie. Because the one thing about that San Diego Comic-Con box set, apart from obviously the Tesseract, was having the Red Skull. The reason it annoyed me so much is when at San Diego Comic-Con they announced that they were doing a Loki figure with a Tesseract. And my first instance was like, oh great, I've got a Tesseract, so now I'm going to have two. But it doesn't matter because the San Diego Comic-Con Tesseract came with that Red Skull. So at least I got it. At least I've got that long jacketed Red Skull. And then they go and announce this one. Now this is the What If version, so it's not technically the MCU version, it's the What If version, but it's the same mold. The head's kind of more animated colours, but for anyone that bought all of those Hydra figures, they are going to have multiple Red Skull heads from the MCU sitting in a box somewhere. But I have quite a few MCU Red Skull heads that I've used for customs, so anyone that did the same, it's just going to pop the head off of one, make a new Hydra character, get this long jacket, pop the MCU head on it, boom, there you go. San Diego Comic-Con 2018 exclusive Red Skull figure is no longer really an exclusive. And that is what really annoys me. Why make things exclusives at one point to just reissue them at a later date and not make them exclusive? So yeah, so that's why the Red Skull really annoyed me. But as a figure, it's a cool figure, and I'm very happy for anyone that hasn't got that figure because they've now got an opportunity to get it. Or just use it as intended, and it's a Red Skull from the What If episode with Captain Carter. And finally, onto the Build-A-Figure. The Build-A-Figure in this wave was Khonshu from the Moon Knight TV series. And I absolutely loved the Moon Knight TV series. I thought that it was fantastic. So to have a Khonshu, and it looks brilliant. It looks absolutely brilliant. I'm really excited. I'm 100% here for it. And I love the details of the way that the skull was floating, but they've made the neck translucent so that it still looks like it's floating. And they showed it next to the Mr. Knight and the Moon Knight figure, and it really does stand sort of head and shoulders above, so it's going to scale perfectly well. So that's it. That was the kind of wrap up of what we got on the live stream. My personal thoughts is they could have just shown us this at San Diego Comic-Con, but I suppose they are limited for time there, and that's probably why they did this. I'm really hyped about Hasbro PulseCon. Last year I had the amazing opportunity of being part of the fan wall and watched the whole thing because it was all being live streamed and stuff, and that was a fantastic experience. And I really like the PulseCon kind of online convention. So I'm really excited that there's going to be a 2022 version, and I'm really excited to see what else they're going to be revealing. One kind of saving grace I'm thinking is that if these are the figures that they're revealing now, this close to Hasbro PulseCon, then what is it that we've got coming at Hasbro PulseCon? I still need more details on this HasLab project because I'm a massive Ghost Rider fan, and I cannot wait to see what HasLab is cooking up for Ghost Rider. But yeah, so there we go. That is my kind of thoughts and my rants on the Hasbro live stream, and a bit of a breakdown on the various different figures that we got. These are all going up for pre-order very, very soon. It's like this week, depending on when you're watching this video. I think the pre-order for the Disney Plus wave goes up on Thursday, and I think the pre-order for the Amazon one goes up the following Tuesday, I think it is. But yeah, it's great that they're revealing stuff that you can pretty much instantly pre-order or look at sort of in more detail, which is really cool. As I said, no shade being thrown at all, just splurting out my thoughts. Thanks very much for watching. If you are still watching, then please do like, share, subscribe, and all of those things. And do check out my channel for a whole bunch of other videos and 5-minute figure reviews, not to mention the Geek Week in review, where I sit down with Super Sorrel and Ryan Speaks Geek, and we just digest the week in review. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you soon.